Let's begin by telling you that fuel scarcity is gradually surfacing in Lagos and other parts of the country as private depot owners have hacked ex-depot price of petrol from 630 naira to 7020 naira per litre. Now, this development comes as fuel scarcity deepened in Abuja and surrounding states on Sunday, with some filling stations selling petrol as high as 900 naira per litre. In an interview on Sunday, the National Vice President of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, Fashola, revealed that many filling stations were closed because they had no fuel in their tanks. He called on the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the sole importer of petrol at present, to explain the situation to Nigerians. Fashola also appealed to the public to avoid panic buying and purchase only what they need, ensuring the available fuel can be evenly distributed. And to discuss this, I am joined by a public affairs analyst, Dotun Ojon. Good morning. Glad to have you join me.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Let me kick off by asking what your impression is on this recurring decimal of scarcity of fuel. What do you make of it?
I think the government is not strategic enough in putting an end to this. And fuel scarcity should not happen at this moment where there's tension in the community. And I was trying to speak with somebody in government this early morning, and I just painted a scenario to him that at this point in time, because of the anger in the community, if two people should pick up a fight within any petrol station or any filling station, that can spiral to something that could become so big that the government may not be able to actually control. So my first impression is that I think that the government is not strategic enough in trying to avoid this at this critical time. But again, I also want to believe that the NPCL is doing everything possible to ensure that this is actually nip in the bud.
So then how can the government be strategic enough in helping to resolve this lingering issue of fuel scarcity? What's the way forward?
Everybody knows what the answer to that question is. It is the courage to do exactly what people know that we are lacking at this moment. As we speak now, the total daily consumption in Nigeria is about 50 million liters per day. Our 4 refineries have capacity to actually refine about 490-something thousand barrels per day. So the solution is very simple. The government has actually been mouthing it for a period of time that they are going to work on our local refinery. We can't continue to depend on importation. And I don't know whether you are aware that there was a story that came out that the NPCL is struggling to refute at the moment, that we are owing up to about $6 billion to people that we are importing fuel from. With that reality, as the case may be, and the reality of what our currency is saying at the forex market at the moment, it's a lot of things. So the government must pay attention to what it has said. Repeatedly, the government has promised that, they were going to work on the refinery, they were going to do turnaround maintenance, and you and I know how much money has actually been put into turnaround maintenance, even while in the last 10 years, the refineries have not been able to churn out 10% of their capacity. I am not blaming the present administration. I'm just concerned that if care is not taken, we will spend the 4 years tenure of President Tinubu to also begin to talk about the relevance as to whether there's reality of fuel subsidy, whether we'll continue to import, whether we'll work on the refineries. And I must tell the president that one thing that I believe he can do right is the petroleum sector, because he's a man that has a clear understanding of how the sector works. So if by any means he fails, it will have been a repeat of what happened in President Muhammadu Buhari government, where we have a former general who could not tackle insecurity, where we have a former petrol minister who could not tackle the issue of petrol. So I do not want the same thing to happen under this government.
Now, away from the government, now we're talking solutions here. What role can other private depot bodies play in ensuring we get to a lasting solution to end this recurring issue?
Unfortunately, I'm not seeing any role they can play at the moment. It's like you're not. Let's look at the reality of what we have on ground. NPCL is the sole importer of fuel as we speak now, and they give to major marketers. And independent marketers buy from major marketers. And it's as simple as that. it's a principle of economics that whatever I buy is what I will sell. So if, for example, if I bought for 610 naira per litre, it is logical for me. I will have to put in my transportation. I will have to put in logistics. I will have to put in electricity. I will have to put in worker salary and all of that. And that's where we arrive at this scary figure that has been peddling since yesterday. So the reality of what we have on ground is that NNPCL, I think, has never, and you see that even people in the National Assembly have come out to say that NNPCL has never been transparent, even when they were government sole agency. So if there's a gap between, if you are owing, let us know that you are owing and rally up the agencies of government to ensure that payment is made. And if there's a gap in supply, there will be queue in the marketplace. There's nothing you want to do about that. I tell you that Nigerian life is extremely and totally dependent on fuel, on petrol, as it were. And that's why anything that affects the sector affects everything. In fact, to the foodstuff. Because by the time you look at it, if prices of petroleum product move up, as we are discussing now, it's going to affect transportation. Once it affects transportation, how do farmers bring their food to the marketplace? So all of these things, I do not see a major role of the independent marketer, as it were. Everything rests on the shoulder of NNPCL and, by extension, the government. So it is a case of the government coming out to be deliberate about how to get a strategic solution. You will remember that when this government came on board...
If I may come in there, Mr. Ojon, apologies for butting in. You've talked about Nigerians, also the government. Now, let's talk about, measures the government should take. Coming back to the average Nigerian now, we understand there is panic buying at filling stations. What would you say to the, to the average Nigerian out there who is panic buying in the light of all of this situation? How should they comport themselves?
The panic buying you see, in reality, is a product of survivor mentality, coupled with the fact that there's what they call internally generated data in psychology. And that happens when your government tells you the other time, or told you the other time, that you should not panic buy because there's enough fuel. And you spent your entire week in darkness. If the government comes to make that same pronouncement the other day, you will not, some other day, you will not want to believe. And that's where panic buy is coming from. And again, at this point in time, I think government should understand that the words they speak to people is almost failing, because when you make a promise and you shift the goalpost under any guise, what you are trying to do is to destroy the believability of that people for other communication that you are going to have in the future. So as we speak now, there's nothing you want to tell the Nigerian people not to panic buy, because we've told them years before. Before this government came on board, government after government, they've always been assurances, oh, don't panic buy because there's enough. And at the end of the day, where did they fall to? They fell into scarcity. So if you are telling them again not to panic buy, you are just speaking a word to them that they may not want to receive because of their past experiences. So I would just want to advise, you saw the scenario I painted. Anything that is volatile now can actually cause crisis in Nigeria. And I want the government to be careful, extremely careful, because I don't want any kind of crisis. I do not want any kind of protest. I do not want any kind of insurrection to actually break out of petrol queue. Because if just two people slap themselves at the petrol station, that can spiral into something that the government may not be able to
And that's
control.
a fine place to leave it. Thank you so much for your insight on the news. Dotun Ojon, Public Affairs Analyst. Many thanks once again.